Yo, what's up guys? So on Saturday, the long-awaited Juniors finally released, and despite my overwhelming excitement to check out this game, I have mixed feelings about it. Visually, I have never seen anything like it. The graphics are stunning and almost look like real life. The art direction is great, and the overall presentation makes the whole thing feel like it was made by a AAA studio. But on the other hand, the gameplay and horror elements had me wanting more. So far, I've seen the game's overall reception very mixed. There's a lot of people who think it's one of the best fan games of all time, but there's also just as many people sharing their disappointment towards the game. And I'm sort of in the middle on this. So after seeing the overwhelming amount of people who wanted to see me review the game, I've decided to review it. Before I start this video though, I do want to address the elephant in the room. I want to make it clear that I am aware of the pear incident and I do not support the actions of Ramanov in any way. However, I decided I would still review this game as I feel it's unfair to let the actions of one person on the team ruin the release of the game for everyone else who worked so hard on it. Also, judging by the poll I did yesterday, people still want to see the game talked about. This channel is not for covering drama, and I'm solely here to talk about the game. Anyways, with that being said, enjoy the video guys. To start off the review, I want to talk about my favorite aspect of the game, which is the presentation. Everything from the UI, cutscenes, music, and graphics are all so far ahead when compared to any other fan game I've played. Right away when opening the game, I was blown away. And to put this in perspective guys, this game was allegedly made in ClickTeam Fusion. And I say allegedly because I didn't even know a ClickTeam game was capable of looking this good. There's usually a pixelated effect or just lower resolution images in ClickTeam games, but not in this one. The game also has an options tab and it doesn't bug out whenever alt-tabbing like Scott's Fnaf games. And these are very small things I'm pointing out, but they are all telltale signs that the game is very polished. After clicking play, we get these amazing looking tutorial screens which get you familiar with the gameplay, before being taken to our first cutscene. And here I just want to talk about the style of these cutscenes. It's very understandable that a game with such a small amount of developers wouldn't be able to animate something like this, so taking this different approach really works well here. And by the way, I'm going to go into the story later in the video. After this, we load into this first-person N64 style section, which by the way, I have no idea how this is even possible on ClickTeam. The music in this section is so well made, it gives off this eerie yet peaceful vibe which is just so fitting for these sections. The dialogue with Bear is also very well done with these funny text boxes that have a drawing of him on them. And everything in this area just looks so cool. Okay, so now for the actual game itself. Just talking about looks here, this is the best presentation for an office in any FNAF game. The environments look so realistic that it's actually insane. The way you look around the room is just so smooth. I seriously have no idea how the team got it to look this good. The cameras also look great, and I especially love how it clicks on as soon as you turn towards it. Good graphics isn't all this section has though. It is also filled to the brim with so much character. There are these different types of figurines scattered around the room, along with company merchandise, and a bunch of papers detailing different blueprints of the animatronics. And it all just looks so cool, there's no other way for me to really put it. The animatronics themselves also look amazing. They take this more realistic style approach to their designs, which I absolutely adore. I might even go as far as to say that these are my favorite animatronics from anything FNAF related. I'm all for horror games looking as realistic and grounded as possible, and Juniors does this flawlessly. The thing that really sold it for me is during the repair sections. The way the endoskeletons look so eerily similar to the one seen at Showbiz Pizza or Chuck E. Cheese creeps me out so much, in a way that the official FNAF characters never did. That's not to say it's all good though, as I have a major issue with one aspect. It's just not scary enough. And some of this is due to gameplay reasons, but most of it is actually because of the sound design. There is very little to no ambience during the nights, which led to me feeling very safe inside my office at all times. I was never really second guessing if an animatronic was lurking next to my office or anything like that. And this is taken even farther in Night 6, where the game gives up even more on trying to be scary and instead plays epic music, but I will comment more on Night 6 later in the video. The jump scares also weren't very good in my opinion. For some reason, despite the game's amazing sound design, the jump scare noise feels weak to me. And also the animations attached to them just feel too fast and lacking of character. It kinda looks like they just spawn in front of you. Like, I have no idea how the animatronics managed to get in front of this computer screen. I much prefer when you can actually see the animatronics popping up from the bottom of the screen, as it just makes a lot more sense and, I don't know, it just looks better. These jump scares never really made me jump, but this is also because it is just too predictable, which I will talk about more during the gameplay section. I do have to mention though, there is this sick occurrence, I guess you would call it, where you can catch the mangle in the hallway, and just look at this. Oh yeah, and I also forgot to talk about the VHS tapes. So during the final nights of the game, you start getting these VHS tapes every single night. You get an option to play these, and if you say yes, you are shown a brief cutscene of one of the animatronics being possessed. These are done in such a cool style. They are done in stop motion with these clay figurines, and I'm not sure if it's real clay or if this is just being rendered, but that just goes to show how good it actually looks. This was such a brilliant way to keep the presentation looking realistic without having to animate the actual animatronics. It also just has this cute charm to it that I really like. Anyways, that's all I have to say about the game's presentation, so let's move on to the gameplay. Okay, so now for the gameplay. Juniors has two different sections of gameplay. There's nights 1 through 5, and then there's night 6. Nights 1 through 5 I think have very interesting gameplay mechanics, however I do have a huge issue with it. First, for the positives. I love the idea that instead of the nights being time-based, they are actually based on how many times we need to figure out which animatronic is haunted. This gives the game a very fun challenge to it that I have never really experienced from any other fan games. The game is also so good at not playing all its cards right off the bat. Animatronics like Balloon Baby and the Marionette will come in later nights, which adds an extra challenge to the gameplay right when you're starting to get the hang of everything. I also really like the repair system. The way you need to manage calling animatronics over for repair while also making sure they aren't the ones that are haunted is super stressful, and added a new layer of strategy to the game that I originally didn't even notice. Although I think the actual gameplay for the repair system could have been a little bit more in-depth. The way it is now, every animatronic's repair is the same, leading to the repair section being so easy you can do it in a second. It would have been really cool if each animatronic had a different way to repair it, so the game could make you remember each animatronic's different gimmick. This would have also helped the animatronics stand apart from each other a little bit more, but that's just my personal opinion, and the way it is now is fine. The first 2 to 3 nights lets you off pretty easily, but during later nights you will need to be calling animatronics over for repair as often as possible. The repair system also adds a neat gimmick where if you know an animatronic has been repaired recently, you are able to take a gamble of accusing them of being the one that's haunted, as you won't die if you get it wrong and will be able to recover. This mechanic does have a huge issue with it though, in my opinion. See, during these nights, the only ways you can get jump scared is if an animatronic's repair meter reaches 0. This not only makes you aware of when you will be jump scared, essentially taking all the surprise factor out of it, but it also makes the game not scary at all. If you are always able to know exactly when you will be jump scared, it ruins any surprise factor the jump scare would have had. I really think they should have kept the gameplay concepts they have now, but also added stuff like animatronics wandering into your room or needing to close doors. Making you actually need to defend yourself during your investigation would have made the time spent on the cameras more tense, and would have made the game just overall much scarier. As for how the gameplay actually feels, it feels great. The controls are responsive, the animations are smooth, and nothing is overcomplicated. With that being said, let's talk about the 6th night. After completing nights 1 through 5, we then unlock a 6th and final night, and this one has a twist. After pressing play, we are immediately met with a cutscene which is a 1-to-1 remake with the Fnaf 2 trailer. We are then thrown into the Fnaf 2 office and must survive just like we did in that game, while a remixed version of the Fnaf 2 trailer music plays. The first time I arrived at this part, I was so hyped. The remix is absolutely sick, and I was so happy to be finally surviving against the animatronics. However, as I kept attempting night 6, the flaws started showing. My first issue with this night is that it does not improve on any of the issues present in FNAF 2. Mainly the issue of the cameras being absolutely useless besides the one with the music box on it. And another issue I have with this section is the fact that the vent and hall lights along with the mask have all been binded to your keyboard. And you might be wondering, isn't that a good thing? Well, in my opinion, no, because there is literally no reason to look left or right. See, originally in Fnaf 2, you would need to move your mouse towards a side of the screen to push a button in order to light up the vents. So now that that's gone, you will always have your vision centered, as it makes no strategic sense to look left or right. This sucks because every time an animatronic is standing in your office and you have your mask on, you can't even see them. It's just flickering lights until they leave. And I'm not sure if anyone else will take issue with this, but to me this is really bad. It's supposed to be scary when an animatronic is standing in your office, but now in this game, you actually have to go out of your way to see them. Also, I'm not sure if this is just a bug, but during my playthroughs, I never once saw an animatronic peeking out of the vents like in Fnaf 2. They were either in the hallway or just teleported straight into my office. Anyways, once you reach around 1:20 AM, a cutscene plays showing that the mangle is being built. You can see the animatronic parts slowly going towards the mangle's room as the OST builds up and gets more intense. And this is such a sick scene and serves as a great way to introduce the next phase of this night, which is Mangle's phase. My only issue with this is that after multiple playthroughs, it can be annoying to sit through, so I think that a skip button should have been added. The Mangle section is a lot better and cooler than the first half of this night. We now must make sure that the spirit does not destroy our cameras. We do this by looking for her on the cams and flashing the one she is on. I like this a lot because it actually makes the other cams useful in this mode, and it is also very tense when you know Mangle is coming towards you. While dealing with the spirit, you must make sure you don't die. You can do this by keeping tabs on Mangle and bringing your camera down to put on the mask when they approach your office. Also, the animatronic designs in this section are absolutely incredible. The withered look that they take on during this 6th night is so horrifying to look at. And this version of Mangle is so terrifying, and I just love everything about it. Overall, Night 6 was a very epic finale to the game. I just wish some of the gameplay issues were ironed out. More horror elements were implemented, and the cutscene was skippable. Okay, so now let's talk story. The story in Juniors is one that I actually like a lot. The two most important things I think a story can do for a game is create intrigue, which makes you want to see what comes next, and also make sure you actually care about the player you are playing as. And Junior's story executes these things perfectly in my opinion. The game begins with us waking up in an unfamiliar place. After this we meet Fazbear, who explains to us that we are in the Barrens, which is a place between life and death. Fazbear is a spirit who has been trapped in the Barrens for a long time and wants our help to move on to the afterlife. We help Fazbear by going to the Juniors restaurant to investigate the spirit that haunts it. Each night we learn a little bit more about the spirit through the VHS cutscenes. We can see that it is just one spirit that is haunting these animatronics, and each cutscene shows the spirit taking control of a different animatronic, forcing them to start building something. I love the idea of this place being haunted by only one spirit, as it gives the game a singular antagonist to focus on, and just helps the overall story feel more personal. After our 5 nights, we now have the 6th and final night, which will trap the spirit for good. This is the night where we must fight off against the Fnaf 2 animatronics, before then seeing Mangle get built, which turns the second half of night 6 into the one-on-one fight against the player and the spirit. After completing night 6, this then brings the spirit who is possessing Juniors into the Barrens, where she then begins to attack Fazbear. The player then stabs the spirit in the back and the game ends. It's not a very complex story, but I think that's actually fine for this game. The game holds the basement and the mystery animatronic being built over your head the entire game, which just helps to motivate you to actually complete the game and see what's going on. And I just felt very invested in the story during my whole playthrough, so I think the story was definitely good enough for me. Overall, I did enjoy playing Juniors. The graphics absolutely blew me away the first time I played, and I still just can't get over how good they look. The gameplay was very unique and interesting, which allowed me to enjoy it throughout my entire playthrough. However, in hindsight, I did have a few issues with it, which really prevented the game from scaring me at any moment. The story was fun and engaging, and although I'm pretty sure the Junior sequel has been cancelled, I wouldn't have minded seeing Pallbear again as he was a very likable character, but these are just my personal thoughts. Let me know what you guys think. Did you enjoy Juniors, or did you think the game was disappointing? Regardless, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching to the end. Please consider subscribing, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.